Hear the gospel from Mark, the 8th chapter, the 31st through 38th verses. That's in your Pew Bible on page 30 of the New Testament section. Well, why doesn't this minister have this already looked up? It's to give you time to look it up. I really do like to be able to say that we could hear it and see it both. It makes it stronger. Learning two ways. Well, obviously I messed up there. Mark 8 is not on 30. Let's go on back. It's on 37. Then we flip over to 38. Must have hit the 0 instead of the 8. Mark 8:31 to 38. This is the turning point in Jesus' ministry. Jesus has been up in Galilee, the northern part, the part that was conquered by the Maccabees, and they were converts to Judaism, who then had people from the south move up there over a couple hundred years. In between is Samaria. Those are those other folks that are just almost like us, but not quite. Therefore, they're our most hated enemies, and they have their own temple on Mount Gerizim, north of Jerusalem. And then there's Judea, where Jerusalem is, down in the south. Jesus is getting ready to go from the north, from Galilee, where his ministry has been, except for trips to Jerusalem, to go down to Jerusalem for the final confrontation. It's no accident that he questions who will go with him. Then he began to teach them that the Son of Man must undergo great suffering and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed and rise after 3 days again. He said all this quite openly, and Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. This is the same Peter who just a couple of weeks before, up on Caesarea Philippi, up at the very north end of the country, on Mount Hermon, at the big spring, said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." But now he turns and says to Jesus, "Don't do this." But turning and looking at his disciples, Jesus rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan. For you are setting your mind not on divine things, but on human things." He called the crowd with his disciples and said to all of them, "If you want to become my followers, if any want to be my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For those who want to save their lives will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake and for the sake of the gospel will save it. For what will it profit them to gain the whole world and forfeit their life?" Or the other translation is soul. "Indeed, what can they give in return for their life? Those who are ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of them the Son of Man will also be ashamed when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels." Wow. Not exactly cheery to get ready for Easter, is it? But it's not intended to be. This is a sorting out. This is the point where Jesus' popularity suddenly plummets. If we had polls back then, like we have incessant polling today, Jesus' poll numbers would have dropped at least 45%. Because he is not preaching something people want to do. One of the questions I have in the bulletin is, "Take up your cross daily" has been so Christianized, so churchified, that it's lost its shock value. In previous places, and I might do it some year again, but I actually made a hangman's noose. We were in a state that still practiced hanging, and it was an image that was around. And I brought the hangman's noose and said, "Who wants to hang this around your neck and go walk around town?" Whatever symbol of persecution, whatever symbol of shame, whatever. It's not just that he was put to death. It's that he was put to death as a revolutionary, as someone who was an enemy of the state. That's why he was crucified. And he turns to these people that have been healed by him and fed by him and welcomed back in, as he said to Zacchaeus, today you are a son of Israel. He brought all these people that had been run off because they didn't fit other people's ideas of what it took to be a good Jew. Does this sound familiar? I'm sorry, you can't come here. You don't wear the right clothes. You don't have the right smell. You're not the right group. No, Jesus got rid of all that. Well, needless to say, that made him an enemy of a whole lot of people. But then he underscores it when he gets ready to go to Jerusalem by saying, take up your cross every day and follow me. Whoa! I don't know about you, but this is not what I would use to promote a tour. You know, come to Hawaii, the land of disenchantment. I don't think that would work, do you? Come to Hawaii and suffer. I don't think people would come, do you? You know, oh, we had to suffer so bad. It was down to 58 degrees. Oh, you poor babies. Thomas turns to me and says, Grandpa, I know it's nice here, but you need to understand that last week it was 42 below zero. 7-year-olds are wise. Why would Jesus do this? Doesn't he want to show up in Jerusalem with the biggest crowd possible? Doesn't he want to show up with a giant popular movement and take over? No, he doesn't. What? He doesn't want to win? No, he doesn't. He doesn't do anything we expect him to do. Now, Mark writes this, explaining it to the early church, probably 80, 90, 50 years after the events. And he puts in, a little bit about Jesus coming again and judging you if you don't stand up for him. But what Jesus is saying is what it opens with. My mission, my job, is to confront the authorities of religion and government and tell them that they're both wrong. And when I do that, you ever tried to cross the Roman Empire? What is the Roman Empire noted for? Large army, big death penalties, absolute control. Jesus doesn't believe in absolute control. Jesus doesn't believe in large armies. If he did, he would have come with one. That's what the zealots wanted him to do. That may be why Judas ratted him out. Jesus didn't meet the expectations. He said, I'm going to go do this and it's going to get me killed. I don't know about you, but would you get on the boat? By the way, this boat is going to Jerusalem and we're all going to have a problem when we get there and I'm going to be killed. Would you get on the boat? Honestly? No. Probably 80-90% of the people that were following Jesus in Galilee said, okay, that's enough, I'm out of here. A few, more than the 12 disciples, but a few said, as Thomas the twin did, let us go with him that we may die with him. Oh boy. Now that's friendship. It's reversed in the scriptures where it says, Jesus says, I am laying down my life for you. Paul explains it. Paul actually preaches it. Paul may have gone beyond what the text of Mark does when he says that Jesus was raised for our justification. What does that mean? Well, that's a churchy word, justification, sanctification, all those kinds of Asian words. What it means is to be made right in the eyes of God. There is a series, which, I don't know about you, but I used to watch Deadwood, and there's Timothy Oliphant in there as the gunslinger. Well, Timothy Oliphant is now in one called Justified on one of the minor cable networks. And he's kind of a lawman and kind of a crook, but he's always trying to be justified in what he's doing, to be seen as doing right. Now, in that series, he only cares to be seen to be doing right. He doesn't really care if he does right, but he wants people to think he's doing right. That sounds familiar too. Some days, I don't really care what the actual inside of me is like as long as the rest of you see the outside. And if the outside is okay, this grumbly, angry little person inside will just let it go and figure that's okay. Unfortunately, God sees the inside. Jesus wants to change us inside. Not just how we get along with other people. Not just how we look to other people. Not just what our reputation might be. But beyond all of that, to say, I confronted the powers of this world for you. You can understand it however you need to. And the Gospels and the epistles have it in lots of different ways to explain it. Don't necessarily settle on any one explanation, because you'll lose some of the richness of some of the others. Little aside, today everybody wants to talk about blood atonement salvation. That's one of about 21 different theories of atonement. That's about one of 21 to 22 different reasons why Jesus might have gone to the cross. It's very popular because it's simple and it's direct, and it says Jesus died for you, he spilled his blood so yours would not. Yet Jesus invites us to go on the trip with him. What does that mean? To have courage enough to confront what's going on in our own day, we need Jesus to walk with us. There's the old spiritual, I want Jesus to walk with me. Well, Jesus wants us to walk with him. And one of the things when we look for a vision in our own lives that will make us happy, that will transform us, that will change our insides, is to realize that Jesus is already walking down that path. And that he asks us to go with him today. It may be that you go to Jerusalem. It may be that you confront. It may even be that you lose according to the world's scorecard. But Jesus calls us to go with him, because that's the only way that our interior lives, our souls, our lives will be changed, is to follow him and then go serve others who need served and confront the powers that will kill us. So again, I want Jesus to walk with me. He invites me to walk with him. He says that I am worth it. He says that if you don't do this, what will you have left? And that's where the sermon comes in. What am I worth? What am I worth if I hear the word of God and know how much God loves me, see the life of Jesus played out as he gives himself for the world and for me, and I run away? What am I worth? If I see that I want to try to do it all on my own, and I don't want his help, and I think I can do it, but I can't, what am I worth? But if I accept that he values every one of us more than his own life, and that he will give his life for us and to set the world free and change the very nature of the world itself, and I then follow him, I am worth everything. First of all, he said I'm worth it because he went to the cross for me. Second of all, I'm worth it because as I'm faithful, he pours his life into me, into you, and gives us direction and courage and hope. Take up your cross daily and follow me. Living for Jesus, 569. You know, sometimes it would be nice to say, I'd be with you.